Good day, grade 12s. So, one of the things that most home language learners tend to struggle with is the essay question in paper 2. The biggest mistake people make here is just narrating the entire story. So, today let's just look at how to plan and write a proper literature essay. If you do this right, you can actually get full marks for it. So, let's see if that can happen. First, the planning and writing of the essay. Step 1, in order to do well in this essay, is you need to analyze the topic or question and write down key words, which show you what the question wants you to do. For example, it was Richard Parker who calmed me down. It is the irony of this story that the one who scared me witless to start with was the very same who brought me peace, purpose, I dare say even wholeness. So that's the quote, and then the rest of the task says, write an essay of 400 to 450 words in which you discuss the statement made by Pi at the end of the novel. Describe how Richard Parker changes from being a threat to Pi's life to being his savior. Now I said keywords. Your keywords here would be scared me witless, brought me peace, purpose, wholeness, discuss the statement, describe, and changes from threat to savior. Anything that doesn't apply to these keywords is unnecessary. So in this essay, you would not talk about Pi's religion, you would not talk about Pi growing up in Pondicherry, you would literally just focus on these things. Then planning your essay. You need to brainstorm the topic. So this means write down all the ideas that come to you and add incidents supporting your facts. You can't just write a bunch of nonsense, you have to prove your facts. Then draw a mind map of the main points and points which come out of these. Add examples and quotes to your mind map. And then these will eventually form the paragraphs of the body of your essay. Now when it comes to your mind map, I've seen so many mind maps that look like this. Life of Pi, what, why, how, when, who. And this is a waste of your time and it's not going to help you. The purpose of a mind map is not for your teachers to see that you tried or to impress us or anything like that. The purpose of a mind map is to lead you to write a proper essay. So let's look at this mind map. This is what, and this isn't even a strong example, you could make it so much better, you could add quotes at every fact, things like that. An example of the mind map, Life of Pi, Richard Parker turns from threat to savior. Then you have 3 arguments. Argument 1, companionship. Because of Richard Parker, Pi stays hopeful. He doesn't focus on the loss of his family, and it gives him purpose. He has to overcome challenges. The second argument there, he must keep Richard Parker alive. What do we learn from that? We can see he doesn't want to be completely alone, so that changes Richard Parker from threat to savior, and also keeping him alive prevents the tiger from attacking him. Which, if you look at the third argument, develops survival skills. Pi gains confidence and hope, and the skills he develops keeps him alive too. So there you have an entire essay. You just need to now elaborate on it. Your opening paragraph or introduction. The introduction should prove that you understand the topic or question and briefly state how you will respond to it. So you need to make it clear that you agree with a statement or not, but without saying, I agree with the statement. Refrain from using personal pronouns at all. I will get to that again later. Here's an example of an introduction. In the novel, not the book please, not the poem please, not the play please, the novel, Life of Pi, by Jan Martel. That is your start for a Life of Pi essay. Then you can continue, it is demonstrated and I say restate the question. So in this case it would be, in the novel Life of Pi by Jan Martel, it is demonstrated that Richard Parker changes from being a danger to Pi to becoming his savior. This statement will be proven as valid through the following 3 arguments, and then you briefly state your 3 arguments. From there on, your first paragraph again states your first argument, then you support it with 3 sentences and examples that you link to the argument you are making. What does that mean? Let's look at a paragraph example. So let's say your first argument is, Richard Parker's presence on the lifeboat gives Spy motivation to live, as he has a purpose. Your statement can be, Spy realizes Richard Parker's companionship allows him to stay hopeful. Then you have a conjunction, as, because, so. It prevents him, an example, from thinking about the loss of his family. And then you link the evidence. So you have a quote there, saying, he pushed me to go on living. And then you explain it. Since Spy has Richard Parker and the threat of the tiger to focus on, he cannot brood about what he has lost, and instead, his instinct for survival takes over. Then you can have a second statement, again with a conjunction, an example, link the evidence with a quote. A third example, a conjunction example, link the evidence. Then you'll have your second argument, which was, he must keep Richard Parker alive. And then again you will say, Spy needs to keep Richard Parker alive in order to prevent the tiger from seeing him as a prey and killing him and killing him. Statement, conjunction, example, link. Then your conclusion. How do you end this essay? Because now you have the introduction, you have 3 possible paragraphs. The concluding paragraph must sum up your viewpoint and emphasize what you have said in the body of your essay. Don't introduce new points here. Again, state your view, but use different words to those in your introduction. So, if we look at our introduction here, it said, Richard Parker changes from being a danger to Spy to becoming his savior. So in the conclusion, you will say something like, with everything mentioned above taken into account, it is clear that although Richard Parker started out as Spy's enemy, he ended up being a companion and a friend to him. Then just a few do's and don'ts. Don't use colloquial language or slang. Don't use abbreviations or contractions. You will not say he is. Can't, cannot. Very, very formal here. Don't use subheadings. I know that you use subheadings in business studies, not in English. And don't use either personal pronouns or the writer's first name. Don't write what Jan is trying to show us here. Please, no. He's not your friend, he's the author. And then do use formal language. Write this essay in present tense. I suggest present simple, just keep it easy. Use short quotes from the novel. Use the writer's surname and character names. Remember, every point you make must be substantiated. You cannot say something if you don't prove it. Connect paragraphs and points using words like however, furthermore, thus, and therefore. Refer back to the topic and make sure you don't deviate from it. And then write the conclusion according to your plan and mind map. Then at the end, once you are done with your essay, I suggest you use the following checklist to make sure that you've done everything right. So the first thing to check, is every point substantiated with evidence from the text? Did you quote to prove your point? Then the introduction outlines how you will answer the question, which means all arguments that are stated in the all your arguments, must be stated in the introduction. Is formal register used? No slang, no colloquial language. You have to use formal language at all time. Please remember this is an academic document. Then the essay is written in third person. Refrain from using I or you. Rather refer to one or the reader. Present tense is used throughout. Stick to present continuous or present simple tense. No subheadings are used. Link paragraphs, but don't add unnecessary headings. The title of the novel is underlined, and people tend to forget this. Whenever you mention the title throughout this essay, you have to underline it. And then rough work or planning is crossed out. You have to clearly indicate your planning. You don't want the planning to accidentally be marked. Okay, I hope this makes sense. If there are any questions, please feel free to ask.